most people would know what are the limitations, but I'll just run through it. One is that we don't have EXCO meetings anymore. So EXCO is like the state level cabinet. So we don't have that because we don't make new policy decisions. We don't sign major contracts. We don't take up new major development projects after dissolution. We cannot spend money after, unless it's already approved prior to dissolution. We cannot spend money as currently in our accounts. So, and what we've done in Selangor is that we have taken a step further because of our experience when we came in 2008. We found out that, for example, there were lots of development projects which were done during elections, but never approved, and then people came knocking on our doors asking us to pay. You know, for example, tarring of roads and this and that. This went on in Selangor during the last elections. Then the state assemblymen, who at that time had about $500,000 worth of, we call it pertukan, it's the budget there. So they spent it all 500,000. So, and in 2008, the elections finished March 8th, so that we already finished all the available money. So what we did this time is that we put limits to it. So, which is we can only spend up to 50% of our allocation. I'm an EXCO member. I have certain amount of money for projects, statewide projects, and we also have limitations, 50%. It means I can only use so much. So these are the little extra that we had, just to make sure that the new government, when the new government comes in, there's enough money to continue. We don't have to ask for extra money. Then, of course, the usual stuff like we're not supposed to use our official cars when we're campaigning, things like that. You know, for example, I have a driver, but you know, when we're campaigning, I have to pay for his salary or his overtime. But of course, these are not listed down, but these are just common sense stuff that I think everyone should do. So when I came here, I actually had a long debate, just to tell the little story, I had a long debate with my driver. I said, this is an official program, I'm representing the state. So ideally I should come in my official car. And I shouldn't be wearing my party clothes. But then I realized it's very cumbersome for me to go and get my official car, especially in this rain. So I said, okay, I will take my campaign car, which has all the cardilan and you know, my big face is very bright and gaudy. But that's campaigning. Well, I'm here in my capacity as you know, member of the Caretaker Expo. And I realized that my bicycle cannot get me here, it's a bit far, because I don't own a car. So I tried to call my brother. In the end, so I gave up all that, and I came in my campaign car. So please don't knock me for that. I had no choice. But these are things that, you know, that's interesting that we are now starting to think. I mean, I think in the past, it would be like, you know, we can use the campaign cars, we can use the state officers to our heart's content, and no one would say anything. But now there's a lot more scrutiny by the public, the NGOs, and it's also the first time that these things are coming out. I think in the past, with the exception of PAS, in Kelantan as well as Terengganu for one term, I don't think we ever had this opportunity to study what exactly is a caretaker government, or what would be the details, or what are the things that we actually debated in Expo, what should go into this circular. So that's our little contribution. Is it legally binding? No. If you go through it, which I did very quickly just now, most of the words just said it has to be avoided. You know, signing contracts should be, major contracts should be avoided. You know, campaigning during, you know, your official duties should be avoided. It does not say that if you do it, you'll be penalized. So there's no provision for that. Whether we should have it in Malaysia in the future, I'm not really sure. But these are the general guidelines that we go through. Whether there's a need for a caretaker government, I think that's a very interesting question, because since dissolution, a week ago, we haven't done, well, I haven't done much. I've gone to officiate the Malaysian Women's Marathon, which is a big thing for me. And we thought that by that time, the marathon would be held, elections would have been held. But that didn't happen, so we went there and gave prizes. So it's fine. I went for a couple of meetings, but no policy decision, no new decisions were made. And this morning, and this was all done in advance, it was already decided in advance. I took a group of people to look at compost and worms. So it's not very exciting. I'm not giving out money, unfortunately. I don't think the media would pick up on that. So, and most of the expos, actually, if you notice, they have not been doing much of the so-called exco or government work. A lot of it is actually campaigning to a certain extent, with the exception of our Menteri Besar, because he does have certain obligations and he has already set his schedule, usually a month or two in advance. So certain things that he has to do. But apart from that, right now, there's no major disaster, so we don't have to make any decisions. But in the event, okay, let's make this assumption. In the event, there's some nuclear power plant that's built in Selangor, for example, it leaks, and we have to come together, we have to make major decisions. Possibly, money is involved to repair and things like that. That part, that's where the caretaker government comes in and it plays a role. And we cannot actually make major decisions, major expenditure decisions without calling the opposition. So this is actually written down, and I think this is also part of the convention of caretaker. So if there's anything, major, and I assume disasters, that's when they come in together with the opposition, and then we come to an agreement and we implement it. Apart from that, the government is just moving on its own. So local council issues, drainage, there's some places that were flooded, for example, in my area yesterday, and the council kicks in. They do their own job. They don't need politicians or state governments to tell them what to do and when to do. Bills are being paid, things are moving on. So there are two, although the Parliament has been dissolved, the State Assembly has been dissolved, there's actually two entities that are still in existence, meaning that they have not been dissolved or they have not been told to step aside. One, local councils, because they are appointed using a different law. So they will go on with their jobs. They will still have their meetings, but usually they are busy campaigning. Second, a local village, what we call JKKK, Jawatan Kuasa Keselamatan Kampung, Jawatan Kuasa Kampung, Keselamatan dan Kemajuan. So again, they are appointed and they have a certain lifespan, they have a contract. So that still goes on. And there's also a few we call them contract workers, or like task force on Felda. We have a special task force. It ends in June and it goes on. Whatever work they're doing, then it goes on. So that does not actually have any bearing on whether the State Assembly has been dissolved or not. GLC still go on, of course. Government-linked companies still go on.